Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, Holy John Marcus, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Give thanks for life, health, and strength above all things. Give thanks to have another chance, upon the land of living, to live right, do right, and live right amongst your brothers and sisters, and little ones. Give thanks for the African Liberation Network that come bring the truth of black supremacy to the world, Give thanks, glorify all loved ones near and far. Tonight, I'd like to reason on a interesting topic, because even once in the black conscious world, even some of them have doubts of this individual, and I come bring the full clearance of this man, you know. So I give thanks for the black Christ in flesh, King Manuel Charles Edwards, who come and teach I and I that this individual man, Idi Amin Dada, we must give thanks to him, for he's the president of life. Give thanks for him because he's the man that come with the Marcus Garvey spirit to free the lost black souls, to even help to conquer the Europeans, the Indians, the Asians, them out of Uganda for his people. And through the media of Israel and all the European nations, through this man is a man that stand out of all the African leaders. He come to show them that they can't exploit his land. They can't use his people. They can't do as they please with his people. He said 80% of the income of Uganda was owned by foreigners. He said he had to do something about that. So I come to help wants to understand this man as a hero and not a villain like the world and the media come to teach us. This individual man, Idi Amin Dada, was born May 29th, 1925, at the hospital in Kampala. And his grandmother gave the account of what happened that night. And she said that night when he came into the world, it was a hailstorm, a serious hailstorm raining down hills. They said that was the heaviest hailstorm in years in Uganda. Windows was getting break, cars windshield was getting break up from the thick hills was coming down. So she said she know that this man is a significant man. This man could be very special. This man could be a unique leader. This man could lead our people. His grandmother doesn't see the vision, doesn't see the mystics. And true, they come from the Kauka tribe, a tribe in Uganda, which they deal with the worship of a feather snake. And this interesting too. They worship, I wouldn't say worship, but they reverence the seven-head feathered snake, just like the same culture within the Americas, the Olmecs, and Lord Pakal, the same way how he was born, the same ritual. When they born, they will carry them in the jungles to be in the wild for like 4 nights. And they say if they survive the harsh elements in nature, they was called to lead. They were special. And then they start to train them in the way they should go to help them, become that great leader, what they was destined to be. So that's the same ritual. They call it the paternity test. That's the same way they did with Idi Amin. And they carried them in the jungles of think it was the Kaula. It was the jungles in Uganda, one of the most dangerous jungles in Uganda. And when they came there, they leave him there for like 3 days, 3 nights. You know, no breastfeed, nothing. They just leave him out there in the elements. They wrap him up and everything. And the third day when they reached there, they met a big python snake wrap around him, covering him, like protecting, like that's her egg. When they saw that, they say, yeah, that's the man. Nature protect him. You know, the same snake with they reverence protect Idi Amin. Just like the Lord Pakal story. You see it? The Olmec, you know, the ancient first Africans, you know, to come these sides here, and you could hear it on a documentary. Priest Isaac did the same way with the Night of the Black Tiger. He give you the full understanding of the connection of the Olmecs coming from Uganda to the Americas, you know, to all the ancient civilizations down here. So you could see the resemblance in Idi Amin and the Olmec heads they found in Mexico, around Veracruz, around the Yucatan area, but they mostly in Veracruz and Levanta. You'll find these heads. You go there, they in the museums and everything. You could see the structure. You could see the structure like Marcus Garvey and Idi Amin. But so when they went in the jungle and they see him wrap with the snake, they say, yeah, this man come to do great wonders in the land. You see it. And he has a son named Jaffa Amin, Idi Amin, and he was saying that the connection is the same, but he said that his grandparents didn't really know, I guess, the story of Lord Pakal and everything, but the same tradition they follow with the feather snake, you know, and be representing reincarnation, rebirth, because you know when the snakes shed their skin, it represents rebirth, born again, reincarnation. You see it, it represents rejuvenation. You know, not like what the Bible taught us. Well, not to say the Bible, but the religious gangsters, they come and teach I and them that snake represent evil, you know, bad omen, you know, misfortune. You know, that's what they come and teach us. They teach us say the snake caused sin to come in the world, you know, not knowing that if you go into Africa, you see they reverence the snake on the walls in Kemet. You know, you see Tutankhamun with the feathered snake on top of his head. Same tradition, same people down here in the West. You know, the Olmecs, the feathered snake. You know, resurrection, rejuvenation. So when, like I say, when they saw this, Idi Amin start to show signs of, you know, uniqueness. Start to show unique signs, and as he got older, he went to work to a hotel, being like a bartender, you know, working at a hotel in the kitchen, you know, doing the hard work or whatever like that. And he ended up meeting a Scottish sergeant, you know, and the Scottish sergeant saw how built he was, the structure, you know, of him. And they asked him if he, you know, ever been in the military or whatever. He said his father was in it and he know a little bit of, you know, warfare and you know, military strategy and them thing there, you know. So they end up giving him some work, you know, this the British, they working for the British Empire now, you know, because they run in Uganda. So he went and trained under the British, went to England, went to Israel, and learned, you know, he further studies in the military field, dealing with, you know, warfare, you know, dealing with trying to save a country, you know, military. And he just, then they brought him down to Kenya. They start to fight against Mao Mao, all these different rebellions rising up now around this time. It's like around 1960s, around that time, and 1950s, 60s, the apartheid and all this thing going on, right? So Idi Amin end up being like the generals, or like they call it the King's African Rifle. That's the first, African military joint, but it was still under the British. So he was like a general there, and they had a roadblock, and this big Mack truck, I guess it's one of those big Mack trucks, those dumb trucks, and the Mau Mau warriors was hiding in it. So when they stop it, Idi Amin end up climbing up the dump truck, and when he opened up the sheet or whatever they had on top, the canvas or whatever, he saw Jomo Kenyatta and the other Mao warriors. He wasn't president yet. Idi Amin wasn't president yet. He was just, you know, warring against the crown, resisting, fighting against the British from conquering the place. So Idi Amin now, when he saw that, he think, and he look at Jomo Kenyatta in his eye, and he just tell the troops, them, no one in there, and they have to listen to him because he's the general. So he say, no one in there, and he saved Jomo Kenyatta from either getting killed or getting in prison, and that's where, the link came in with Idi Amin and Jomo Kenyatta, so and that's where when they got in power, they was able to come together as allies and work together, to defeat the oppressors, defeat the colonial rulers. So the first ruler was King Master II. This was like in 1960, 62. And he was ruling Uganda as president. And then it was Apollo Moulton Obuti was the prime minister, right? So when the king died, Obuti now make himself president. Well, they vote him in as president. You see it? So he was the second president, and he was against Idi Amin. He was very much against Idi Amin. And he was so brutal too. He was not really just with the people. You see it, and Idi Amin said he'll do something about that. He has to do something about it. He's far greater than just a general of the British Army or whatever like that. So he ended up going against the crown. You see, using his skill, but they teach him using, the art of war and gathering up, military, bazookas, all these different weapons of war to protect this country, because you can't have a country, you can't have a continent, you can't have a nation and don't have collective security. You don't have no security to make sure no exploitation, you see it, no injustice going on. So you need security, and someone gotta do that work. Yeah, it might be a dirty work, but it's for the greater good. You see it, the other nation, they have their security to protect their country, protect their people. You see it. So it didn't mean come to fulfill Exodus 15, verse 3. The Lord is the Lord of war. You see it. Jah is a God of peace. He's a God of righteousness, and he could be a God of war. Someone gotta go out there and fight Jah battles for him. You see it, and go out there and conquer the wicked ones. Just like Michael Archangel, was the right hand man of Jah, and he's the one that cast Satan and his host down in the pit. You see, so Jah had warriors them that go out there and have to deal with Satan and his army physically. You see it, the Father say, if it's blood, let it run, If it's fire, make it burn. If it's water, don't give them none. And that's the role Idi Amin comes to play. You see it, so enough don't understand him because the field he come to fulfill, the field of warfare and having, to take one's life if they try to violate or, harm his people. You see it. So when he told the queen and he told the prime minister of Israel, I think she was Koli Mayadan, was a female president, prime minister, and all them really, you know, train him in the art of battle, art of warfare. He went to Israel and he went to England. So, when he told them now he'll defend his country and he'll be a sovereign nation, he'll be his own empire ruling. No one ruling over him. He ain't gonna be no puppet. You see it? And that's when the war started. You see it? That's when the war started. And after he got in power, this was 19 January 1st, 1971, when Idi Amin got in power. After the overthrowing of Abuti, and he started setting laws quick. He said no one should be in the streets as a drunkard, no prostitution. You see, because all these things, these are the nations bring into Africa. You see, the prostitution and some type of spirit, drunk. They brought rum into Africa same way, and that's how, they was trading them through the West Coast. And some of the leaders, sorry to say, was trading them for rum and molasses. So, and came on and say, rum cut the heartstring. You see it, rum cut the heartstring. So rum was always the black race enemy. They used rum to bring us into slavery, so rum would always have a curse on it. You see, it always be bad for them. That curse that. And when he said this now, all the rest of the nations, they have their businesses in Uganda. They selling rum. They have bars all over the place. He started to cramp the economical powers of the nation. You see, he started to cramp them. You see, no prostitution, no bars, no drunkenness on the street, no loafing around, idling around. Everyone would have a job. Everyone would have works to do. The place was developed. The place was booming. You see, everyone happy, everybody working, and they give you, false image in the media. So, Israel control the media, the Ashkenazi Jews, they control the media and all these things. So they start putting it in Time magazines, they start putting it all over in their channels, their news and everything. So they control the World Wide Web. So whatever information they put out there, the people believe it. Not all, but majority of the people believe the news. They feel like whatever the news say is gospel, like it's the Bible bringing a broadcast on TV. So whatever they say, just believe it's true. And that's how the world have the media up on this pedestal, like whatever they say is truth, you know, which is a lie. Enough of the news they put out there is lies. And all the while he was working for them, fighting against the resistance with them for them, and it's no problem. But after he wanted to stand up and tell them no, they can't do this no more. This gotta stop. Then they put out the man is a mass murderer. The man is a cannibal. The man eat human flesh, and then they have enough Africans there, you know, believe that this man is an evil man, and this man killed innocent people and all these things. You see it? They believe the media, and then you have some here, enough in the West here have that same impression, you know. And I had I wouldn't say altercation, but one time even a Bobo Shanti even was questioning me about Idi Amin, you know. He's going to service, you know, and it's a priest. I was shocked because in Bobo Shanti I feel like enough ones don't have the full understanding of who Idi Amin really is. You know, they never went into depths. I wouldn't say all, but you know, most who I meet, they really can't go into depths of the man history, where he come from, what he did, why is betrayed. He's portrayed as a villain in the world, but our father, King Manuel Charles Edwards, you know, revere him, you know, honor him, respect him, have deep feelings and respect and admiration for this man. You see, I see in couple of Jav Jav videos, his documentary, the one on Jav Speak in his black robe and he outside in the courts, you know, and you know, just giving a culture. If you look on the fence, you'll see you have pictures of Idi Amin, you know, on the fence. You have Marcus Garvey, you have the emperor, he has himself, you have Idi Amin, the only African leader other than the king, you know, he has in his church, in his holy place, you know, and the man is a holy man. So for the man to give Idi Amin that type of admiration and love and respect, I had to look deep into the man. I said I have to study who this man is because the world give us a negative image. They put him next to Hitler and all these different demons and devils, you know. And I say if the Christ come and put this man up in the level of God, like divine. I have to look into this man. You know, you can find Idi Amin pictures even in the tabernacle. You know, where we praise and worship. You know, yeah, I don't see his pictures in the tabernacle. You know, we wear him on our guidance. You know what I mean? King Manuel said in the Black Supremacy book, Idi Amin is the president of life, meaning he's the president that protects life. You know, he don't take life um unnecessarily or for gain or for fun or you know he can take life in that way how they portray him to be like he's a man that just come to you know take advantage of his people and kill them off and do all these things. No man, yeah, he had to take life to protect us, you know, he had to take life to protect I and I them, you know, and for sure it's self-defense. You see it because now the British now they start to buy out the Tanzanian president. You see the Tanzanian president and Idi Amin now start to get into conflict. You see it like around 1970, 70, 73 on that time, and a war break out between him and Tanzania, and Tanzania was in the pockets of the Europeans at that time. So they try to make it seem like he was killing his own people, but he said in his interview that his troops, his soldiers, them start to leave him and go on the Tanzanian side. I guess they was paying more money, they was getting bribe or whatever. So his soldiers was leaving and going on Tanzanian side, and then they was working with the Tanzanian government and coming in and killing innocent civilians and poisoning the lakes, the rivers. People start, you know, they go to the rivers to get water to drink. They wash their clothes in it or whatever, and they was getting poisoned. So now the people saying that's Idi Amin troops killing everybody. You see it. So now they saying it's him, but he trying to show them that enough of his soldiers them sell out and gone for higher pay from the British to try to overthrow him. You see, because the man started turning the place like, Wakanda, like advanced, bringing it into a modern era, telephones, banks, cars, factories. He started bringing in factories and things. For well, he was working with foreign governments or whatever like that, but he wasn't allowing them to bring in their people. He was saying if they could come in and build factories or whatever, they have to hire Ugandans and they have to have them working and teaching them. So he could run the thing and make his own. He had like making like pajamas and boxers and underwear and stuff like that. Yeah, man, he started developing factories to do those things. You see it? Having real economic power, not buying clothes from the foreigners or shoes from there. He wanted us to learn how to make these things. He started, invested in factories to make whatever we could make and be a self-sufficient kingdom. You see, and that's what they didn't want. They want us to always depend on them. And then if they wanted diamonds, they wanted oil, whatever it is, he making sure that Uganda get their profit. They get their right percentage of whatever deal they make. And most of the time, he even turn them down because he doesn't know they come to win. They ain't come to make their country strive and be fruitful and be a economical power within Africa, have your own military, you don't have to answer to no other nation. They didn't want that, and they see that's where the man vision was. So they try to stop the man quick, and they use his own to try to make it look to the world and to the rest of the Africans that yeah, this man, this what he dealing with. He killing innocent people, he killing his own people or whatever like that. So when he went to Geneva, when he went to the United Nations, sorry, pardon me, when he went to the United Nations to address it, you know, and let the world know what's going on, and how they trying to frame him up or whatever. And he speak in his Ganda language, which was a violation. He had to speak English so everyone could understand. So he did like almost the same thing as Majesty did to the League of Nations. He went there and he speak in Amharic. He broke the protocol of language barrier and spoke his ancient tongue. Same thing as Idi Amin did. He spoke his ancient tongue to the United Nations and letting them know what's taking place in Uganda and how he's being framed up, by Israel and by the U.S. government and from the British government, and when he finished his speech, you know, just left. He wasn't into no smiling and acting like, everything is nice and everything is love. He showed them, he came and let them know that he ready for war if it have to be, And if they ain't had an interpreter there to interpret his language, so be it. But for sure he had an interpreter there to interpret it in English for them. So he is like they wasn't worded for him to speak their bastard language. He was speaking his ancient tongue to them and let them know what's going on. And when he went to the hotel, I think this was the Hilton Hotel, and he saw, African maid cleaning up the place, making sure it's nice or whatever like that. And after she finished, he gave her $10,000 and told her go create a business and get from around these people, you know, create a business of your own and take care of yourself. So the man was a loving man. The man didn't want to see oppression. He couldn't stand seeing our people being oppressed. You see it. If he had all the money in the world, he would have do everything he could to just take us out of the condition we was in. But he know that it takes a lot of more work. It takes getting things in order governmentally, parliamentally, collective security, making sure, we have our own factories, our own businesses, our own kingdom, our own empire. He wanted to bring Africa to a level where anyone couldn't just come in Africa just like that. Like how you could go, how Africans in Africa is go on the boats to try to get to Europe. Some of them risking their life to get drowned and things to go get to Europe. Then you have them here in the West, like Haiti and other places, in Mexico and South America. They going through all type of things to get to the borders or going on boat trying to cross the seas, the Caribbean seas to get to America. And how they have that strict security there where you can't get in like that. You can't go there and exploit the place. You see it? You can't go. They couldn't go in Europe and exploit the place like that. You see what I'm saying? So this the same type of security Idi Amin wanted for Africa. To when you see foreigners come in and but they want to invest, you scan them. You don't just give them a free passage because they give you a couple $1 million and you just let them go there and do whatever they please. They sucking up Mother Earth, sucking the oil, taking all type of digging into Mother Earth, destroying the core Earth, digging these massive mines and stuff like that to get diamonds and gold and all these things, and clearing down acres and acres of forests for rubber, those rubber trees and things. You see it? So he was trying to set things in place so it don't get there. And this is why now His Majesty come in and form the OAU, you know, Organization of African Unity. You see it in 1963. So when the emperor created this now, he brought all them together. Idi Amin, Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, all the great leaders of Africa, he bring them under one house. And what's so significant is Idi Amin ended up being the emperor's the first chairman. So now this ain't like when the emperor inherited the throne by divine rights through bloodline, So this ain't like that. The OAU now, the emperor formed this with his own hand. This his creation, this his house. You see what I'm saying? It ain't like it was there passed down from his ancestors. It's something, this organization he built. You know what I mean? His vision, his mind created. And he was the first chairman. And in 1974, Idi Amin ended up being the second chairman. After the emperor made Idi Amin the chairman of the OAU. You see it? So if this man was a man of such evil and horror and terror on his people, if this man committed such a horrific, genocide on his people, you think His Majesty would let this man sit on his throne in his house? No. You see it? And that's why I was baffled when there was a priest asked me why wearing Idi Amin on my chest. If I feel like it's a good, idea to wear Idi Amin on my chest going on the go, especially if you're holding a weapon or whatever like that. So I couldn't understand that because I say, my Lord, I say, that's me and individuals really ain't trying to study this man. This man is a part of I, he's a part of Bo Shanti, he's a part of our house. King Manuel, respect him. King Manuel, admire the man, glorify the man, and put him as a God level. He say he's the same Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey is the Trinity. So Idi Amin is almost like the Trinity. You see what he's saying? Because he fulfilled the book of 2 Kings chapter 2 when Elijah, when he's going in the whirlwind, he gave Elijah, you know, the portion of his spirit, meaning, they become one. They become one mind, one soul, same individual, same power. He passed on his power to Elisha. You see it? And this is the same way he came on to explain of Marcus Garvey and Idi Amin. He say, look to Uganda when Marcus Garvey come as the president of Uganda to chase all white oppressors out of Uganda. You see it? We see Marcus Garvey physically is not there. He wasn't there. The only man who come and raise all the or expel all the different nations, the Chinese, the Asians, the Indians, and Europeans was Idi Amin. So it's the same Marcus Garvey, but King Manuel spoke of. It's the same man. The same Elijah giving Elisha double portion of his spirit. You see, so Idi Amin is more of semi in the Trinity in a way, So King Manuel put him to a God level. You see it? Because Marcus Garvey is the God, I and am Trinity, the prophet. And him and Idi Amin have the same gifts. Seeing the future, seeing things before it come to pass, that psychic ability, that clairvoyance. Idi Amin have that. He could see his enemies when they come in, hours or days before, and he could predict future events, let you know that, what can happen this time and that time. And the same thing, with the Olmecs. They have the same gifts. If you read up on them, they were, athletic people. Same thing. Like Idi Amin, he was a boxer. He was boxing. He's very athletic. He always into, staying fit. He practiced martial arts. Yeah, martial arts and boxing, all these things. He was saying one time when he went to Somalia and he went swimming in this lake or this river infested with alligators, with crocodiles in Somalia. And they told him that this lake is infested with crocodiles. And he still go on and swim inside there or whatever. And one of the crocodiles ended up grabbing him by his ankles. And all they see is he just gone. The crocodile carrying him. And they just fighting and everything there. All they see is him, wrestling with the crocodile and other crocodiles coming, and I think he ended up stabbing him in his eye or something. Yeah, I think he ended up stabbing him in his eye and he got away from the crocodile. You see it. So this man represents, the same Hercules, the same Hulk, the same story they get with a strong man, that's I and I. That's the black man, with the the Hulk represents green. They if you see some pictures with Haru, I'm not Haru, but Asaru, which they call Osiris. Sometimes he green, sometimes he black. They trying to show the green represent chlorophyll, strength, same way, absorbing the sun, and the black represent that carbon absorbing the sun. You see it? So he's the same Hulk. He's the same, strong strap God, the God of war. You see it? He's the same man. So I give thanks, for Idi Amin, man. He's a hero, not a villain. He's a hero. He's a man that come to liberate his people. He's a man that come to destroy all oppressors. You see it? He called himself the British, the conqueror of the British Empire. You see it? One time he went to the Silver Jubilee of the Queen Elizabeth. And when he went there, they heard the Secret Service heard about him coming. They say he had like 200 people inside the plane or whatever. I don't think it was 200. Yeah, it was 200. I guess it was 2 flights. And they thought it was troops because he was uninvited. He wasn't invited to the Jubilee, the banquet or the celebration they was having. So now they getting ready. They got their military out there already, you know, to see what's going on. But he said he did that just to let them know, just so the world to see how much they fear him, how much they fear him. He say you can't let them fear you. You have to fear that. You have to put fear in them. You can't be a weakling in this time. You have to be a strong leader, a leader with force and power. But it wasn't no troops. It was dancers. He was just toying with them, and he ended up, taking his flight back. Well, I think he went back to Africa, but he went to like around Somalia area. But he said he did that just to let them know, they can't stop him. He whenever he ready to attack them, he can attack them. So this man started to become, an international threat. So they had to put this man in the media and portray him as a terrorist. You see it. So they basically want all the nations who see this man get rid of him, just like how they do Gaddafi. That's the same way they're trying to do Idi Amin. He had to go into exile in Saudi Arabia, because he was Muslim. They end up converting to Muslim. Although they still remember their African custom, their practices in the village, in the Kiwa tribe, with the fatted snake, referencing the fatted snake and all that, just like the Olmecs in South America, but he converted to Islam and he ended up becoming allies with the prince in Saudi Arabia, and they took him in when he got into exile, when the British and Tanzania came together to overthrow him, he went into exile into Saudi Arabia, and I think that's where he passed away in 2003, August 16th, a day before Marcus Garvey Born Strong. He passed. So you can see the connection, the significance. You can see the significance. So we give thanks for the same Marcus Garvey, the spirit of Elijah, the same Elisha, the same God from ancient time. You see, if you look at the Olmec statue, look like the same man. They represent reincarnation. So that's the same man reincarnating this time, the God of war. The God of war, the God of security, securing his country, securing his people. You see it, and this is why, you have to give thanks for these type of leaders. This the type of leaders we need in this time in Africa. These the type of spirits Africa need right now. Because right now, Africa going through so much with fake leaders, leaders them with bowing. His Majesty said Africa is in bondage today because their leaders are still looking to outside forces to solve Africa's problem, and everything Africa needs is right within her. So we need these type of leaders like His Majesty Jomo Kenyatta, Idi Amin, individuals who run these invaders out of Africa with military tribunals. You see it? Military style, warfare. His Majesty went to war, fire night him, fighting the Italian. He didn't back down, he didn't bow. That's why Idi Amin said the only two brethren he respect in Africa was His Majesty and Gaddafi. He said, these man them ain't about, they ain't gonna take no bribe. These man them is economical powerhouses for Africa. You see, Gaddafi was bringing Libya to a standard. He started to put solar panels out in the desert. He started to run water out there so to just grow his own food, fill that desert with greens. That was his mission. And then he wanted to get payback in gold from whatever they was getting, oil or whatever there. he wanted to get paid in gold. He wanted all the money that he have in the banks, the foreign banks. He wanted that in gold, and that's where they had to deal with him. You see it. So, and then His Majesty, same thing, bringing Ethiopia to modernization, bringing first um telephone company, bringing the first automobiles in Ethiopia. You know, hospitals, schools, banks. Well, King Menelik started off the bank, and the emperor just, you know, um, advance it, and modernize it in his time, the bank system and everything. So they don't want these type of development for Africa. You see it, and that's why His Majesty loved Idi Amin so much, and that's why Idi Amin loved His Majesty so much because he looked up to His Majesty. His Majesty was basically training him, molding him in the leader he wanted him to be. You see, if you see enough pictures with His Majesty and Idi Amin, they always together. They always hugging. They always, showing that brotherly love to one another. He look up to the emperor as a mentor. As a sensei, like the monks. How the monks look at up to their master and their sensei. Yeah, man. The emperor is coaching him. For the emperor to make him the next chairman after him, of course, the emperor was coaching him in the way he wanted him to go. The emperor see that his mind is on the right path of, you know, trying to free Africa and bring Africa to the standard it once was. He see that this the man could handle the job, you know, and His Majesty would never put a wicked leader there in his house to run his thing. Never. So that's how that gave me confirmation even before studying about Idi Amin, that bring confirmation that this man is not what the world say he is. The man is totally opposite because you see the two gods referencing him. Then you see King Emmanuel referencing the man, and exalting him to a god level as Marcus Garvey. He in Jah Tabernacle where we praise and worship. He round Jah dwellings. So he's like a blessing having his image around because image carry energy. That's why you got to be careful the images you wear. If you wear someone who is, dark and who did a lot of wickedness in the world, like say if you wear Hitler shirt, you for sure know Hitler was wicked. You wear Mussolini on your shirt or whatever, you drawing in negative energy. You drawing in, a judgment because these people are not godly people. They are not heavenly people. They're wicked demons. Same way when you wear the image of a holy man or woman on you, you call in their energy, you call their essence. See, that's the science when you wear images on you. That's why in Leviticus 21 it say don't make any markings on your skin because markings, drawings, whatever they carry different energy. You see it? So we give thanks that King Manuel had the energy of Idi Amin, around his dwellings, you know, a savior, a hero of his country. So I give thanks, I mean, there's so much more about him. And I'll recommend a book you could get. It's called Idi Amin, Hero or Villain, written by his son, Jafar Amin. It's a 500-page book, a lot of information because he know that it's gonna take enough information to really open the people eyes of the history of this man and what he contributed to Africa. You see, you can't just write 100-page book on Idi Amin. You have to give the people every detail you could possibly get, and then you have to get, others' opinion who been around him, family members, people who was around his ruling in that time. You interview them and you get their opinion of the man, and enough of them saying the man was a loving man. The man created jobs. The man always come and walk the streets and meet the people personally. He meet them personally. He was in just a presence, staying in his house, staying in his palace or whatever, calling shots and not getting to know the people. Like how you see the leaders there is today. They're too high minded, ego, you know. they look at us as cattle. They don't look at us as souls, divine beings. They don't look at us like that. They look at us just cattle they could use, you know, in a cage or whatever. So he came out and give us that honor, you know. He came out and get to know the people, listen to their cry, what they need, what the problems is, and give him their little ideas of what he should do to advance the country. And he was, taking wise advice, especially from the elders. So this was a divine leader. He was a god. You see it. So I give thanks. I pray once and once. Get just a little bit of clearance on him. You know, I give thanks for the African Liberation Network to even give I the opportunity to declare such truths to the world. And peace and love to the Royal House. And give thanks for our Black African heroes. Study them, learn of them, and learn to appreciate them. Learn to you know exalt them and learn from their example. Because I want this to be a learning opportunity still for once and once. I want to be a learning opportunity where they could learn about the man and see the man and the right life he should be seen on. You know. So all that said and done, out of down setting, give thanks for life, blessed love, until we meet again.